Tom Pincince alongside three of our head coaches for the Blue Devils as we sit down for our first CCSU Coaches Corner. Bre Gleason from our softball program, Mick Darcy from women's soccer, and Bill Ball, our head women's swimming and diving coach. Thank you guys all for joining me, and we're going to figure out what this is going to become or what it's going to be, and you guys will help trailblaze exactly what we're going to talk about. But first of all, thank you for joining us. And we have three coaches from three different seasons, so really three different perspectives on what's been happening and what's been going on. The first question that I want to ask is how are your teams doing, and how's everybody doing headed into, we start finals here in a day or so. Bre, we'll start with you. Ladies first.
The girls seem like they're doing well. You know, I think it's the first time that they've ever just been a student in their whole lives. So they have a ton of time to focus on their studies, and everybody seems to be doing well so far.
Mick, how about your team?
Yeah, I think the response so far is they've been pretty flexible and nimble as far as adjusting to the new system. Exams next week is a big week for everybody. I don't think everyone will have an exam in every class. Because obviously, the online learning has been slightly restructured, but it's obviously an end of a memorable semester, and one more stage to go.
I like the word memorable. That's putting a positive spin on it, right? To call it memorable. Bill, how about your team?
They seem to be doing all right. They struggled a little in the beginning, just not being in class, but they seem to have adjusted. They're all missing the water, which I didn't think would ever happen, but it's happening. And, they're just waiting for, once school ends, then we're waiting for the USA swimming to open up the pool so we can get back in. I don't know when that's going to be or if it'll be, but we're going to try to find some water.
And I think we went from crazy schedules to all of a sudden everything just grinding to a halt. I know at home with my three girls, we used to go from 6 a.m. till 9:30 at night, whether it was coming back from volleyball or swimming or softball or whatever it is, and all of a sudden now it's almost that same feeling every day. I just went outside after I got off a meeting, and my two older ones and my wife are learning how to make churros in the kitchen, and there's stuff everywhere. So I think people are learning how to do different things, I think, right? And catching up on stuff they haven't caught up on before.
Yeah.
How about, Bre, the initial shock of losing the season? What do you think that the girls have learned from the girl? I'm going to say women. What have the women on your team learned from this spring, if anything? It still feels like yesterday that we sat there in the bleachers and talked to them, and we're almost at 2 months, exactly since that day.
Right. I think, in that meeting, there was a lot of emotions. I think, as an athlete, you work your whole life to get to college, and then you work every day for a season. And we were one of the first to have our season kind of, we canceled our Florida trip, and then it was apparent we were going to take a couple weeks off. And in the moment, it felt like we were getting slighted. But I think looking back, they've learned bigger picture that they're so well taken care of, and the people that were making the choice to not go to Florida, then not play games for a few weeks, had their best interest in mind. And I think that if anything, they've learned how much, everybody at Central cares about them and loves them. If they didn't already know it, it became very apparent with how well they were taken care of through this whole thing. So I think it's given them a good perspective on what's really important in life. And as important as sports are to all of us, the bigger picture is that we have to keep everybody safe. And I think at a younger age than most, they learned that pretty quick.
How different has it been coaching from home? And we're not just coaching them on the field, but making sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing in the classroom. But we're also concerned with mental health. We're concerned with the fact that some people may feel isolated. How different has it been at home, and what have you learned from being at home? Mick, we'll start with you.
Well, I think it's part of it comes back to the culture of the program, and and the trust that we have in the players. So obviously there's no on-field coaching. So now we're trying to get them through a period where their good habits have got to come back into effect. So whether it's, either you want to be an athlete or you don't. I don't think any one of us, three coaches here, I don't think we necessarily have to tell our players what to do. They didn't get to to compete at the Division I level, being told what to do the whole time. So I think for the most part, they've got good habits. They continue to work out. Because the NCAA restrictions on us, we're not required to, even if we want to do, to ask them specifically what it is that they're doing. But I think these are women who are, have been well trained for a long time, have good habits, and they're continuing to do those things as well. So the academic part probably has been the biggest adjustment, because now they need to learn how to take online classes, where it's something that most of them had never done before. So that's been a transition, obviously for our faculty as well, because a lot of those had never, taught online classes. So I would say the academic piece has been much bigger part than the soccer part. And then just kind of making sure that it's, that they still remember that we're here. And when I say we, the whole team is here. So we still stay connected every day. We've got at least one activity every day that we do. And they remember that they're still a part of something pretty special here.
What do they learn about as student athletes that, Bill, that helps them through a time like this, right? Sometimes people wonder or question the importance of an athletic program or what it means to be an athlete or what it means to work at this level. What have they learned that's helped them get through these 6 or 7 weeks?
I think the biggest thing is their time management, and that they know they've been so structured and had such a routine. They kind of stay on that same routine. They know they have to do these things. They have to get up. They have to do their classes. They have to go online. They have to stay up with their homework. So I think the routine and the structure that they've had and the focus is maintained. The thing I think they're struggling the most with is just that extra free 20 hours now. How do you fill that? And I think they're really struggling with that part of it. Just because it's not as structured, that part's not as structured anymore. The freedom to do the workouts the way they need to, we're in the water. This new dry land thing is just, we're fish out of water.
I see the social media videos of the kid dangling from the swim and putting his head in a puddle, or yesterday it was a guy who jumped out of the starting blocks onto the coffee table, and he had a big pan of water in front of him, like a big, and he kept putting his head in and he was breathing and pretending he was swimming, and that was his new dry land workout.
Yeah.
It's different. It's different for your sport, especially not having the pool and, that ability to, my daughter goes outside and hits into the net with softball, right? But she can throw, she can hit, they can go for a run, they can go ride their bikes, but there aren't many places that they can go swim right now.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's not even open water. The parks are closed and everything. So, plus the water's 55 degrees. Who wants to do that?
Have you been surprised, or maybe surprised isn't the right word, but excited to see somebody from your team, any one of you, step up during this time as maybe you knew they were a really good leader, but when this happened, they took that next step and became an even bigger leader? Anybody?
I think we've had a number just reach out and just try to organize things. Took a week or two, but I think they just stay so connected anyway. With all the social media and all that stuff, they're always on it. I know Jeanette King took charge and started posting all of our incoming and announcing that. So that was pretty good. So we've seen some.
I think maybe we saw with Tess Atkinson. She's the one who reached out to me about sending out that thank you video that they did. Yeah,
that was Liv Fiore was the one who put the whole thing together, and Tess was involved too. And so they've had a couple of small different projects they've been doing. Obviously we're still involved with our team impact as well. So that leadership group have stepped up and done a great job there with Naima, one of our players. So it's been an opportunity because there's often, as coaches, we're there to guide them through a lot of what's going on, but I think they've seized some opportunities themselves that will help them in the long road.
How about staying engaged with your teams? What's worked best for you guys during this time? And we meet as a staff and at least once a week, just even if there's not much to go over, but just to see faces and just to talk to some different people. What's worked best for your teams during this time?
I've really enjoyed our, we have a spotlight player every week on our Instagram and Twitter. And I've really enjoyed the throwback pictures, trying to guess who's who.
You got to take off the hometowns on the hats, though. If you're gonna put up which player is which, you can't put her hometown on the hat.
People are still getting them wrong, though. So I feel like.
By the way, the
Caitlin
mm-hmm. Patterson picture from when she was younger, she looks identical to how she looks now.
Hasn't changed one bit.
Hasn't changed one bit since she was 4.
No.
Now she's what,
34?
In her 7 years at Central, she looks identical to what she did during that time.
I know. I think that's been my favorite part so far, though.
Bill, you guys did some Instagram takeovers.
Yeah.
Right, from your team. They did a really good job with that.
I thought they did too. I was a little worried at first, not gonna lie.
Yeah, me too.
Especially that group. But I thought they did a pretty good job. And yeah, I mean, as far as staying in contact with them, we just using GroupMe and texting and checking on them daily, and not a lot to, just making sure they're keeping up with their academics. And they're doing some stuff now. They're like, I think today they did a swimming yoga session together. And just like I said, though, without water, this could be tragic for our group.
We'll have to make sure they're in the pool as soon as they can be in the pool.
That's right.
Those 4-hour practices, we'll have to make sure our compliance staff is peeking in there every once in a while to see how things are going. No, we don't want compliance in there.
No. Social distancing.
there you go. There you go. Well, your lanes are far enough apart that you should be all right, when that time comes and what we have to do. What else? What have you learned about your team? Well, they're all all women's teams that we have on today. What have you learned about your team that you might not have known beforehand?
I think my team's ability to stay so positive through this whole thing. I knew they were good people. I knew they were good students, good athletes. But every time I talk to them, they're so upbeat. They're looking on the bright side. They're looking forward to get back. And just their ability to stay positive has amazed me through this whole thing.
Yeah, we've learned a lot. We've a friend of mine, Dick Burke, gave me an idea just to get a list from each one of the players, and so I asked them all to send in 3 things about themselves that most of their teammates probably wouldn't know. So it could be purely random things. It could be my Auntie Molly's mince pies were my favorite thing at Christmas, or I got my hair cut at Cost Cutters, whatever it may be, just purely random stuff. So every day we send out a little "Who Are You" competition and a list of 3 things, and then all the players have to chime in on who they think it is.
What were your 3?
I told you that, Tom. I gave you a hint. The first one was I used to have brown hair. So they immediately all thought that was one of the blondes on the team, but no.
When I was younger, when I used to go get my haircut, I used to actually have to have them thin it out. It was so thick. If you can believe that.
You regret that now? Maybe that was the problem.
I don't think that's the reason. But
Never know.
It's only a matter of time before we get to hair jokes, I guess. We could ask Bre what her 3 things are. That's what I do in my public speaking class. I make them stand up in front of the group and say one thing that nobody knows about you that you could. So I usually
we share a lot in the coaches suite. I feel like everybody knows everything about me.
That's where I bust out my 3-legged pit bull story and the fact I can do the Rubiks Cube. So I thought I was really cool one time in class, and I said I can do the Rubiks Cube in under 90 seconds, and I thought that was great. And I had a kid. I actually brought it with me so I could show him. So I had a kid who asked if he could have it. So I gave it to him, and he did it in 12 seconds, and he put it down in front of me, and he walked back to his seat.
Tom, you should have told me I would have brought one. We could have raced.
I have a couple up on my shelf, but I can't reach from here. So
can you ship me one and then we can race?
There you go. We'll do that. Well, you have the Red Sox one in your office, right? Is that what you have?
That one's too hard. You have to put them in the exact right spot. That one takes me forever.
You all have pretty active alumni bases who are very involved, and from Laura Messina to softball to And Mick and Bill, you actually tonight would have been. We're taping this on Friday. We're not going to put it up till Monday or Tuesday, but tonight was scheduled to be the Hall of Fame event, and you both have a Hall of Famer that are going in, and Jamie Crowley in swimming, and Laura Duncan from women's soccer. How have you stayed engaged with your alumni, and who have you heard from, or are you surprised that they've reached out so much? And we did a great talk with softball and women's soccer about championships. We're going to get to swimming. We have plenty of time to do all that. But have you stayed in touch with your alumni base, and what has their reaction been during this time?
We just been staying in touch kind of individually with so many nurses and first responders and the police departments and stuff, staying in touch with Helena down in Texas and all the girls at Yale and Hartford and Bridgeport Hospital and stuff, just kind of checking on them in that way. And then they stay in touch so much with each other. They include us on a lot of stuff so we can kind of see what they're doing. Just kind of reaching out to them individually is probably the best way we've been doing it.
Mick, how about you guys?
Yeah, we've done a good bit through social media. One of the silver linings of having a little bit more time now is being able to go through some of our archives and dig up some more stuff. So we've been creating a little more video content and putting that up online. So that's been fun looking at some of the old stuff. And then we had the NEC competition I had last week over with the different teams against each other. So the alums really bought into that and got on board, and that was. There was a lot of emails and texts going around just trying to get everybody to vote. So we had a good laugh at that.
And Bre, we know that Laura Messina is always involved, but how's your alumni base?
Good. I mean, obviously Laura and I talk all the time about how much we miss coaching and we miss each other. But I actually got a text from Alyssa McCourt the other day just saying hi and checking in, and that honestly made my day for a couple of days. It was so nice just to know that she was thinking about us and wanted to make sure that we were okay. But I think social media has made staying in touch with all of them pretty easy. The NEC just did sent out a tweet about Kelsey Barlow. So that made me reach out to a couple of those girls and see how they were doing from a couple of years ago. So.
What else do you guys want to talk about, and what is this? You had a chance to kind of not sit around, but kind of reflect on what's important and not only in athletics, but whether it's keeping in touch or. And I keep telling my kids, if we had gone through this when I was younger, and this doesn't apply to you, Bre, but when we were younger, if we had gone through this would have been brutal. It's hard now. But I don't know what would have happened, because you only had that one phone where you could call one person, and then all of a sudden three-way calling came in. That was like the greatest thing in the world. And but we wouldn't have been able to keep in touch the way we are now. We wouldn't have been able to do these calls. School would have stopped. Everybody would have either just been promoted to the next grade or had to go back where they were and start right there. I don't know how we would have done anything like that. Anything else that you guys have thought about or realized during this time, and what's important to you and your program and your student athletes?
I guess probably just appreciating every day, Tom. I think you asked Bill this question earlier, and he was answering. I was kind of thinking, athletes were. They have that bounce back ability, because at some stage you usually pick up an injury, and the long-term ones are out for, might miss a season or whatever. But it may even just be a week or two or just one game practice that you miss, whatever. But it's when you're separated from the group, when you're not allowed to do the things you love with the people who you love, I think you get a greater appreciation for that. And we've all been removed as coaches. It's, it hurts not to be around your players on a daily basis. But, I think for our players too, not being around each other, but also that, the stuff that getting up at 6:30 to make sure you're in the the weight room for a 7 o'clock in the morning lift, that can seem like a drag. But now I think you ask any of our players, they'd be thrilled to get into the weight room to get a session in from there. So again, just understanding maybe how good we have it, and it's a little bit of these privileges have been taken away from us. We know they'll come back at some stage, but I think when we come back, it'll be a greater appreciation for it. I think that's probably, when you ask what things I'm thinking about, I keep, wondering, how are things going to be different? How are we going to change from all of this? And it was interesting. I heard President Toro's article in the Current this morning. She was talking about the no more snow days, because from here on in, if it snow, we'll expect professors just to be able to teach online. So, but little things like that. But I think there's going to be a lot of things that we will do differently when we come back.
It's like they say, like being a parent, and I heard somebody say this once, and I don't remember who it was, but being a parent where the days take forever, but the years fly by. Where it's, I'll never forget Joe, when my oldest Isabella was born, and Joe Arnone would say, like, you need to understand right now, and like, this is going to fly by. And I think everybody says it when the kids are really small. And I thought about it because Jen Frisch, who we had on the women's soccer call, emailed me pictures of her new baby today. She said, just thank you for being having me on the call, but here's some pictures of my baby. And I replied back, and I felt like, I was like, enjoy this time. Before you know it, you're driving around with your kid while they learn how to drive a car and they get their permits. And, my youngest is 11, but she might as well be 25 at this point in time, because she's pretty much self-sufficient. We'll fight over which sport she's going to play when she comes to school eventually, but, we'll see. Bree and Bill will have a big fight over that. I don't have any soccer players, but I got swimmers and softball and volleyball players, so we'll see what happens. But I think it's that, like Mick, like you said, that appreciation, and you get so frustrated with the little things sometimes when you're there, and you don't have that chance to step back and take a look and say, like, this is really cool what we have the opportunity to do for a living, and see every day, and whether it's watch our student athletes, and that group that we talk to for women's soccer, they're only a couple of years younger than I am, and when you think back and look at, the effect that you as a coach had on them, and everybody at Central had on them, like, that's what's really cool when you have that chance to step back and take a look.
I think something that I've really realized during this whole process is I thought coaching was one thing. I thought it was, making kids better students, better athletes. I thought it was about, wins and losses and all that kind of stuff. But I've realized what I really love about it is the people. And I love coming to work every day and seeing Mick in his office and getting to see everybody. And I've realized what I really, really miss isn't the winning or the getting better. It's the people, and it's the interacting, and it's the watching the kids grow up into the people that they're going to be for the rest of their lives. And that's what I can't wait to get back to.
I'll tell you what I'll remember forever and take away from this. And, there is the appreciation of everything that we do. But the day that we found out we had to leave campus, I sent an email out to everybody, and I said, if you're still here, I need to see everybody in the coaches suite, because we needed to make sure that, all of our student athletes were taken care of before they left. And I'll remember that group that showed up and sat there until we knew that everybody was going to be okay. And then, picking up van keys and driving them to Mick's house so Mick could take his student athletes to the airport and everything like that. That's what I'll remember. I'll remember that group that sat down to make sure that everyone was going to be okay. Because Bill has an international student athlete that we needed to make sure that everything was taken care of. And that's the one thing I remember a lot. And I tweeted this morning about driving by campus for the umpteenth time, and it's not a joke. I live 3 miles away, so it's really easy for me to go back. But driving by and seeing empty fields and those kind of things, that's tough and difficult. But remembering the way everybody stepped up when they needed to step up and continue to step up, because we're not done yet. But that's what I remember, and I keep saying that's what it means to be a Blue Devil, and I truly feel that way. So. All right. I appreciate you guys taking the time to join us. And Bill, when you finish painting that room, if we could get some fancy stuff behind there, that would be great background.
No, this is the Newington house. We're selling it. It's out.
So you're right down the road too.
This is the only room. That's the only wall that only has a couple spots on it right now. Everything else.
All right. Well, I thank you guys. Bre, you can say hi to the person in the back who keeps popping in their head to say hello and make sure that everything's all right. But I appreciate you guys taking the time. This is great. It gives great insight into you and your programs and the great job that the three of you are doing leading our student athletes in those programs. I appreciate it. I know we all do. And thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
See you guys.
Bye.